Welcome everyone to your September 15th, 2025 Rotary Club of Ames meeting. Can't believe this year has gone so fast already. Let's go ahead and get started here this morning with Pledge of Allegiance. So please join me in saying our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Does we have anyone to keep in our thoughts and prayers this morning yet? I'm not aware of any. If you want to put it in the share or just unmute. Otherwise, let's just take a moment and think of someone, just keep our thoughts and prayers out there, especially some of the recent national activities that are just senseless. So let's take a moment. Okay, thank you, everyone. So today we're online. Next week we'll be online as well with Speaker Andrew Collins from Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance. So a little different schedule this month. Just a reminder for everyone to accommodate the Plex. We are online again next week, and then we'll be in person the last September. Oh, it's the 29th of September. We'll be in person again at the Plex. So keep that in mind. We do need some help this Wednesday at noon to help sort and the collection of the items that we'll be distributing. There'll be a little bit of sorting and such. So from noon to maybe 1 or 2 o'clock, could definitely use the help. Won't take too very long. Let's, where are we meeting at? Innis Grove Park, the Walnut Shelter, it looks like, just off of Duff and 24th parking lot. Lunch will be provided, so just bring a beverage. Need to RSVP to, there's a website there for the lunch count.
You can just let me know as well. I'm coordinating with Jerry on some things too.
Perfect, yeah. So any help we can get would be great for that day, for Wednesday, this Wednesday. And items that were brought last week will be there, right, Alison?
Yep.
And if there's any additional items you want to bring, I suppose you could probably bring even more that Wednesday if you wanted to.
Yep, absolutely. And we had $125 donated to purchase some overflow gift cards to be donated to the Ames Center. And Sandy Swanson told me she's going to send a few extras that Overflow is donating themselves. So we'll get those.
Awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, we still have a couple more days. So if you have any donations you want to give, we still have some time for that and could bring those on Wednesday and help organize that a little bit. So thank you everyone in advance for any of those that can make that. And again, email to Alison. Volunteers for Miracle League this fall, still have a few of those left on Saturdays through September 27th. So again, that's at 9 and the second one starting at 10. You can email Alison if you can show up to volunteer. Should be some great weather these next couple weekends. So get out and enjoy it and help out there. It'd be fantastic. Appreciate anyone who can make that work on their Saturday, and even bring your own kids or bring whomever just to enjoy the day. Club survey. If you've received a request to fill out the survey, please just take a few minutes and share your thoughts. We'd love to hear from you. It's just information that we want to use to better the club. Looks like we've had 15 people respond so far. So more responses we get, the more well-rounded we'll be with everyone within the club and your thoughts. The link was shared in the chat. You can open it now. It takes about 5 minutes. So please take the time to do that. I will admit myself, I have not done the survey, so I will be getting on that Shame on me. So everybody, I will lead by example and get that done this week. It only takes about 5 minutes. So thank you, everyone. And I think so at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Tammy to introduce our guest speakers today from the University Museum. So Tammy, go ahead, please.
Great, thank you. And I just got a flash that says my internet is unstable. So if I freeze, Alison or Jamie, please step in. So it's a pleasure to introduce Alison and Caitlin today. So Alison Ranniger Van Zandt, didn't ask how to pronounce that last name, is the curator of the Christian Peterson Art Museum with University Museums at Iowa State University. Her curatorial research engages with historical and cultural themes with a special emphasis on the collection of Christian Peterson. Alison earned her master's in art history from Leiden University in the Netherlands and her bachelor's from Central College in Pella, Iowa. Welcome, Alison. Caitlin Patton is the Museum Security and Education Program Assistant for Iowa State University Museums, working with the Christian Peterson Art Museum, the Art on Campus collection, and the Anderson Sculpture Garden. In this role, she collaborates with curators, faculty, and students to create meaningful engagement with the museum's collections, including leading curriculum and visual literacy tours and developing educational resources. Caitlin holds a bachelor's degree in art and Asian civilizations with a museum studies certificate from the University of Iowa. And we're excited to welcome them. Alison and Caitlin, we've been putting up the celebration, the 50th annual celebration, and reminding our members for the last couple weeks about your event on September 19th. So welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Do you want me to go ahead and start sharing my screen?
That'd be fine.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Okay, thank you all for having us today. We are so excited to talk to you today about the University Museums. My name is Alison Ranniger Van Zandt. I am the curator here at the Christian Peterson Art Museum. So if you have any questions along the way, we should have time at the end. Otherwise, if you're just burning with a question, we are happy to pause and answer it for you. So we will go ahead and get started. So go to the first slide, and Caitlin will go ahead and get us started off.
All right. So as she said, my name is Caitlin Patton. I am one of our educators here with University Museums. And so today we're just going to be going through a couple of the different facilities that we have, some of the programming that we offer, and then just giving you a little overview about that event on Friday. So here you can see each of our different facilities, Brunnier Art Museum, which is our earliest one, founded in 1975. That's where the 50th anniversary comes from. Then the Farmhouse Museum was founded the year later in 1976. That's the one I'll be talking about next. Then the Art on Campus collection, which is all of our public art across campus. The Christian Peterson Art Museum, which is the one that we're currently sitting a couple floors above. And the Anderson Sculpture Garden, which is right outside the Christian Peterson Art Museum over near the Hub, which was founded in 2008. All right, so here we have some photos of the Farmhouse Museum. It's located on Central Campus. It's the first building that was ever constructed on campus. It technically predates the university by several years. It was constructed around 1860, and it is now considered an official National Historic Landmark. It has been used for various things throughout its history here at Iowa State. It was the home of the Dean of Agriculture at various points. Visiting professors would use it as a, space to live. Farmhands would use it. It was used as student housing at several limited points. And it was also used as a model farm home for a lot of the, at the time, home economics classes. It officially opened as a public historical house museum in 1976. It's mostly staffed by our student interns. They are normally the ones who sort of keep stock of the space, though we can each pop in to monitor it at several points. And like all of our museums, there is a rotating schedule of exhibitions, tours, and public programs. All right. So our current exhibition that you can see at the Farmhouse Museum is Women's Domestic Artistries. So unlike a lot of the other museums, because it is a historic house, there is a certain amount of, permanent things that are on display, a lot of the furniture, several of the decorative items. Obviously, the architecture of the building is pretty consistent, but we do have special themed exhibitions each year/semester. Women's Domestic Artistries focuses specifically on a lot of the craft and domestic arts of the late 1800s into the early 1900s. So you'll see a lot of things like quilts. That's probably the biggest thing there. Is there's a bunch of quilts, and so you can learn about the various types of quilts, along with embroidery, hair crafts. That was a thing. You can also see a lot of the women's magazines there. Women's magazines were a big influence on, spreading a lot of these ideas, and also they were used as a way to share information. So you can see some actual extant examples of those. And then, of course, once the holiday season rolls around, we'll have our Yuletide, which we have that every year. I highly recommend visiting during that time because the garlands make the house smell very nice with all the, orange and cinnamon. And then starting in 2026, we'll have America 250, Prairie Plows, and the People's College, which will be a 250th anniversary exhibition following, the establishment of the United States as a country. So that will deal not only with the country's history as a whole, but also how that relates to Iowa State and its position as a people's college. So that'll get into the land grant, all of that sort of stuff, wider Iowa history. So if you're interested in that, I'd recommend visiting. That should open in early February. And then as far as some of our program highlights for just this semester, we are going to be having a curator's tour with Alison Sheridan, who's the curator of the Farmhouse Museum, Arsenic and Old Lace. So this will be focusing on a lot of the poisonous aspects of this exhibition. Namely, if you're familiar, there were a lot of materials that we would now consider hazardous that were commonly used during the Victorian era. Some often unintentionally, they were not aware of the hazards of these materials, or there wasn't a suitable alternative, sometimes intentionally using hazardous materials. So if you're interested in that, recommend that. We will have open house weekend hours during family weekend at Iowa State. So that is the 11th and the 12th. So if you wanted to visit the Farmhouse Museum, but you cannot visit during our normal open hours, that's a good time to go. There will be snacks there, candy. So, that's another incentive. We'll be having Prussian Blue, a cyanotype workshop. So if you've ever wanted to try and learn how cyanotypes work, that particular photography printing technique, that'll be happening on Tuesday, October 21st from noon to 3. And then, of course, with Yuletide comes our Yuletide open house with Santa. So Santa will be coming to visit, but only on Saturday. If you go on Friday, you will not meet Santa. I'm sorry. He has a very busy schedule, so we could only get him for one day. And along with all of these, I should also just mention, we'll also be having our first museum meetup on this Thursday from 6 to 8. That will be a more student-focused event, but it is welcome to anybody who wants to come. We'll have some embroidery crafts, some quilting crafts, some free snacks. So if, again, you want to come during one of our after-hours events, that's also an option as well. And now I will turn it over to Alison.
Okay, so I will go ahead and introduce you all to the Brunnier Art Museum. If you haven't been to the Brunnier before, the Brunnier is located in the Schumann Building at Iowa State, and it is located on the top floor. It opened in 1975. It's our first museum to open here at Iowa State University, and it's named for Henry and Anne Brunnier. it really has an emphasis on the decorative arts collection, but we do cycle out historical and contemporary art and artists on a regular basis. There were 2 renovations. If you've ever been in the Brunnier Museum, in that back kind of hallway, it's the Anne Brunnier Decorative Arts Gallery. So while the Brunnier collection may not be out at all times, in that back hallway, there is usually something out from the Brunnier collection. So that's really nice to have. In 2019, the whole front facade was completely renovated. So I do have in our slides some of the original photos of the facade. So if you haven't seen those, you'll kind of be able to tell how dramatic that 2019 renovation actually was. And that's named for Lori Jacobson, who was a museum professional, but also was a student intern with University Museums. So we do have a couple of really interesting programs. We just had a really fun education program with Lynette Pullman, who, as you know, has been with University Museums since the beginning. And she kind of just talked about the collection and how it's been used as an educational tool since the opening to now. We do have on Friday, the 50th anniversary celebration, celebrating the opening of the Brunnier Art Museum 50 years ago. So feel free to wear 1970s themed outfits if you're feeling up to it. Otherwise, it's free and open to all. There's not a set program. There will be remarks in the beginning, but we really are just excited to celebrate this milestone for the museums and just celebrate with the community in general. And we do have some upcoming exhibition, related exhibition programs as well. These are all posted on the University Museum's website, and they're all free and open to the public. I do have on this slide the official invitation for the 50th anniversary celebration. We do have this posted to our social media and website, so feel free to pull that information from there as well, or take a screenshot. But we are very excited to welcome all of you to the Brunnier at 7 on Friday. So as we kind of talked about, and as some of you may know, the Brunnier Art Museum is named for Henry and Anne Brunnier. So one fun fact, during my interview process, Lynette asked me where I was from. I'm used to saying middle of nowhere, Iowa, but she was very insistent. And so I said, I was from Manning, Iowa. And she was all excited because Henry and Anne Brunnier were both born and raised in Manning, Iowa. So Henry attended Iowa State, graduated in 1904 with an engineering degree. He married Anne in 1905. They went to New York, and then in 1906 there was the earthquake and fire in San Francisco, and he actually moved there to work as a civil engineer. And he established the H.J. Brunnier Associates Engineering Company, which actually was in business from 1908 and closed in 2020. He was also a member of Rotary International. So the Rotary International started in Chicago, and the second location ever was in San Francisco, where they were living. And he was the president from 1952 to 1953. He and Anne traveled the world, and while they were traveling the world, she became very passionate about collecting. And so in the 1960s, when the Iowa State Center was being planned, him and Anne committed stocks as well as their art collection to Iowa State. Iowa State accepted, but they didn't necessarily know what they were all accepting. As Lynette says, as Lynette recalls, they knew they were getting a collection. They didn't know what kind of art collection they were getting. And to everyone's surprise, two semi trucks showed up full of objects, and it was around 30,000 objects that they accepted. Lynette said it took about 2 years unpacking and processing everything. And the Brunnier Art Museum was set to open in September of 1975. Well, in June of 1975, there was a major flood and kind of slowed down construction, and the collection, which was in Hilton, had to move to the Sheeman building. And a really fun story Lynette was kind of had brought up during her last program was they didn't have trucks moving any of these objects. So 30,000 objects, I think she said they had like a week to move them to Sheeman before the opening. She said she had a cart and roller skates, and that's how she was moving objects from Hilton to Sheeman, which is really fun. She says she still has the cart, so if you show up on Friday, you should definitely ask her to tell you that story. But as you know, this collection of 30,000 objects has really become the core of our permanent collection here at Iowa State, and is still actively being used in curriculum and educational programs. So I have some slides from the initial opening of it was initially called the Henry J. Brunnier Galleries, now known as the Brunnier Art Museum. So you can see the two different entrances that originally had. These images are from the actual inaugural opening. Lynette said that they had to make labels. Unmute. She said they had to make labels for each individual object, and that all of these cases were just crammed full of all of these individual objects, just because they didn't have room. If you can imagine trying to house and case 30,000 objects, it's a big job. This is another image. So you can just see how many of a lot of small objects as well, how many were on display. Some 1970s fashion. All right, so we'll move on to the Christian Peterson Art Museum. So if any of you attended Iowa State, some of you may recall Morrill Hall. Morrill Hall was actually condemned and did not look like these images you see here. And there was actual talk of demolishing the building. Thankfully, the president of Iowa State, President Joffrey, selected University Museums to house this building, along with, at the time, Textiles and Clothing Museum and Sept. Now on our third floor, we share that with WISE, Women in Science and Engineering. So we're very excited to have them in the building as well. So that opened in 2007. We're the home of the Christian Peterson Art Collection, which is a little over 1,200 objects, as well as the art. And we do have 3 separate gallery spaces where we have regularly changing exhibitions. Those typically change once a semester, or in some cases once a year. So for those who do not know, Christian Peterson was the artist in residence at Iowa State from 1934 to 1955. He worked with Grant Wood to create the History of Dairy mural at the Food Sciences Building. It was after that initial project that he was hired as the artist in residence for Iowa State, and he stayed here until he retired in 1955. Currently, we do have some ongoing projects. Not only do we regularly use his objects for education and exhibitions, he has 12 major public works of art. which do require a lot of care. Currently we're working on creating a marble replica of his unknown political prisoner maquette, which will then be installed in the Anderson Sculpture Garden outside of Morrill Hall. And then we are also working on conservation of the history of Darien mural cycle. So this is kind of fun. These are brand new pictures of the marble replica that we're creating of the unknown political prisoner sculpture. This sculpture was created for an international competition and was this competition was promoted through the Museum of Modern Art in New York, as well as the Tate in London. And the final exhibition was shown at both locations. So this was a competition based on the theme, The Unknown Political Prisoner. At the time, it was around 1952. So it's around the time of the Cold War. And so you had a lot of international and different interpretations of this theme. And this was the sculpture that Peterson had proposed. And for the final design, he had proposed it be made out of marble. Well, this sculpture wasn't selected as a finalist. It was never realized. So University Museums is working with a carver in Oberlin, Ohio, to scale this up about 2 times and create this in marble using the original model as a reference, as well as looking at other Peterson objects for the final detailing. This is important for us just to maintain relevance of Christian Peterson's work in American art in the 20th century. For us, it was a real shift as aesthetically in his work. And so we're really excited to kind of have this more available to the public. And then this is another view of the CNC milling of the marble block. So the idea is once it is CNC'd, the carver will actually begin sculpting it. The CNCing actually kind of it shortens the amount of time that he needs to spend carving it. It also makes it a lot easier for him to carve it. So you're the first ones who get to see these pictures. So I'm very excited to share them. We also have the ongoing conservation of the history of Darien mural. It is the oldest public work of art that we have of Christian Peterson's on campus. It is very special. If you've seen it in person, or if you haven't, the creamery is right inside. So, and you're able to visit it still. The pool section where the cattle are drinking is currently covered. As you can tell from the picture, just over time, the pool has been cracking. And so when water kind of filters down, it gets behind there and it just continues to cause more damage. So this actually, we've actually been working with the Mechanical Engineering Department and the Center for Industrial Research and Service to scan that whole front pool. And we will actually be working with a 3D modeling company that will reproduce it in the same material for us at the same scale. It's to a point of breakdown that we're not able to repair it. So this is just some ongoing maintenance that we have to continue doing. But we are really excited to be working with these different departments on campus, and it really is a special opportunity for us to work with different students and just kind of show the ongoing relevance of art in their careers. And this is just a list of the upcoming exhibitions, the current and upcoming exhibitions at the Christian Peterson Art Museum. So upstairs on first floor, we do have the Beth Littman exhibition titled Middle of the Story. She'll be having an artist talk this week. And we have downstairs in the hallway gallery, we have The Shape of Memory, Gifts from the Mary Peterson Estate. And in the Ryman Gallery, we have the Forms of Remembrance, the Unknown Political Prisoner exhibition. The Unknown Political Prisoner exhibition just gives more detail on the competition and just demonstrates different shifts in Peterson's war memorials, aesthetically as well as conceptually. The Shape of Memory, as some of you may have heard, Mary Peterson, Christian Peterson's daughter, who actually grew up in Ames, recently passed away. And the University Museums received gifts from her estate that included numerous new Christian Peterson sculptures. So we're definitely excited to have those on view, to have new Christian Peterson objects on view. And then in spring of 2026, we'll be hosting the exhibition Albert Paley Origins. If you've been to the Christian Peterson Art Museum, if you've been to Morrill Hall, you'll see this giant metal sculpture positioned on the front of the building facing the road. That was commissioned by Iowa State with Albert Paley to create that artwork. That's called Transformation. And so we'll have different maquettes of his and the model for Transformation in the galleries next spring. We're very excited about that. And as I was saying before, Beth Littman's going to be having her lecture here in Morrill Hall on September 17th. So this Wednesday, she's an international and major player in the sculptural glass community. So definitely a special opportunity to be able to meet her. And we will be having a guest lector in October, Dr. Leah Rosendalong. She's a academic specializing in American art, and she's also done research on the international competition that Peterson participated in. So very excited to have her as well. And we'll move on to the Art on Campus collection, and I will go ahead and pass it over to Caitlin.
Okay, fantastic. Perfect. Okay, we got that fixed. Thank you for bearing with us. So yes, the Art on Campus collection is all of our public art across campus. Iowa State has one of the largest public art collections in the country. We have over 25 works of art throughout the public art collection, and 2,500, thank you. That number increases to over 3,000 if you also include all of those maquettes and models and all of the preparatory materials that are created before the final artwork even is completed. And so these are located pretty much anywhere you can think of across campus. They're inside dormitories, they're in open spaces and courtyards, they're in the classroom. And this art isn't just there to be, aesthetically pleasing, it's required to be intellectually relevant and also utilized in curriculum. And basically that just means that the public art can't just be there for really aesthetic reason, or just because somebody is like, I want a piece of art in this building and this is what I want it to look like. It has to have some sort of connection either to Iowa State's history, to the research that's being done there, or some other elements that connects it with what is going on in the classroom as well. This program was formalized in 1980, and it includes not only the acquisition of artwork, so things that come into the collection, it also includes care and maintenance of it. So as you'll be seeing here, and as you've already seen somewhat with the History of Daring project, it's not just about getting new things in, it's also about caring for them, replicating them if they become too damaged and can't be out in public view, all of that sort of stuff, in addition to the scholarship and some of our educational programming as well. Okay, let's see if this video is gonna work. Yeah, so this is just a quick reel from our Instagram account that shows a little bit of the conservation of the Fountain of Four Seasons. So this was our earlier project. I'm sure a lot of you saw it around town. But basically, the maidens in the Fountain of Four Seasons had become extremely damaged due to a combination of factors, namely that, similar to the History of Daring project, water and minerals had just gotten into the cracks and basically made them structurally unstable. So it was not possible to keep having them out for public view. So as part of this project, a replication project was also initiated. So that meant that we also hired some 3D modelers and stone carvers to help create replicas of each of the maidens. This was done through a combination of factors, namely a lot of that 3D scanning work that we saw earlier. There were dots that were placed on the maidens' faces as access points so that the features could be as close to the original maidens as possible. We utilized not only the original sculpture, but also a lot of the other models, a lot of the other additional materials with this. And so that meant that the maidens that you see out in front of the Memorial Union yet now are not the original maidens, but they are about as close to them as you could feasibly get. Yeah, and the maidens officially made their return in October of last year. So here are a couple of photographs from the rededication ceremony and a lot of the, big celebration of the return. Wendy gave some remarks, and it was big, much happiness on that day. And you can see in the photograph on the right, the comparison, not on the right, on the left, the comparison between one of the original maidens with the replica here.
And we just finished the terracotta ring.
Yes. And as Alison also noted, the terracotta ring, which is the area around each of the maidens, sort of around the main structure of the fountain, also needed some conservation and replication done, and that has recently been completed as well. So the fountain got a big facelift. So if you go visit it now, it's looking a lot better than it has in previous years. So one of our main points of connection with the Art on Campus collection is all of our art walks. So we host art walks at least once a month, often twice a month. And most of them are either, something with a core theme around them. For instance, the next one is Blueprints of Life. So that deals a lot with things like DNA and genetics and, artwork that is representing the big tree of life. Some of these can just be focused on one specific building or an area of buildings. But depending on what you are interested in, there are walks happening all the time. I should also note that there will be a Veterans Day art walk in partnership with that downstairs exhibition on the unknown political prisoner that'll start in Gold Star Hall in the Memorial Union and then walk over to the exhibition. So if you're interested in that particular show, that would be another way to get engaged with it. All right, and the last sort of facility that we're going to talk about is the Anderson Sculpture Garden. So this has a lot of overlap with our public art collection, both because public art is hosted in the Sculpture Garden and because it's meant to sort of act as a bridge between the public art collection and some of our, interior facilities. It is officially titled the Elizabeth and Byron Anderson Sculpture Garden. It was established the year after the Christian Peterson Museum was established, and it focuses on permanent installations of University Museum sculpture and temporary 2-year exhibitions of sculpture as well that are just highlighting different artists in our public art collection or American 20th, 21st century sculpture that we would like to acquire in the future. So what that means is basically the things that are in the Sculpture Garden often will not remain there permanently. So there might be things like ghost trees, which is a big aluminum sculpture in there. So that has been acquired by the university. It's been purchased. Yep, you can see a photo of it there on the right. So that is going to stay in the university. It just might not be permanently in the Sculpture Garden because there are areas that are built in to basically be rotated out. So even if sculpture is in there, it's not always going to be in there, sometimes because we return it to the artist who fabricated it, and sometimes because it just goes to a different place on campus. But all this to say, there are exhibitions in the Sculpture Garden. They just rotate out less frequently. And as for what the exhibitions are, our current ones is a legacy in sculpture. So we have ghost trees, which I mentioned already, but we also have kabuki. That's the sculpture there on the left of the Japanese robe. These were accessioned into our permanent collection. So as I said, these were not commissioned specifically for the university, but they have been acquired by the university. And on the bottom there, we have Hive Mind, which is a sculpture by Beth Lippman. She's the artist that's featured in our upstairs exhibition. So that exhibition is in partnership with this new work that she made specifically for Iowa State. And it highlights a lot of Iowa State's history and its innovations. I won't go further into depth with it. If you want to ask her questions, just like I said, she's going to be here on Wednesday. And we'll have some other things that are related to Hive Mind as well throughout the semester. As far as our programming highlights, we are going to have an artist lecture by Karen Lamont. She's the artist who is behind Kabuki, as well as Nocturne 5. That's the sculpture that you see right as you enter Morrill Hall. It's a glass sculpture. She is also quite an excellent artist who's really involved in a lot of different mediums and materials. So that's going to be great. If you're interested in the garden half of the Anderson Sculpture Garden, Austin Eichscheid is an ISU alum, and he helped design the new perennial movement sample garden, which is a new section of the Anderson Sculpture Garden that is focused on perennial plants. So there are, hundreds of bulbs in this one section, and it looks really nice right now. It looks at its peak in the summer. So if you ever want to come back and take a look at it then, I highly recommend that. But he'll be giving a lecture all about sort of his process of designing a garden, what goes into that, how are plants selected, what will be some of the benefits of this style of garden versus, sort of the flat grass that was there before. So if you're interested in that, we have that, as well as cultivating a collection, art on campus in public gardens. That's going to be in partnership with Ryman. So again, if you're interested in the garden half of that, that'll be something. And the two gentlemen who were in that earlier photograph by the History of Dairying, Sawyer Krotz and Jake Behrens, there with the manufacturing lab at the engineering department. And so we'll be having a Zoom event with them in late October, preservation and manufacturing in public art, where they will go into their process of how a lot of this stuff is done. So again, if you're interested in the technical aspect of that, that might be something you'd be interested in. And additionally, I would be rude to mention this. We partner with lots of different organizations on campus, and we're now starting to utilize the Art on Campus collection to sort of show the different ways that can be utilized by students. And so we recently partnered with the 3D printing and scanning department over in the Student Innovation Center. And so now we have these little 3D printed models of library boy and girl. The lighting is completely losing all of the detail in this, but this is a 3D printed model of library girl. Was utilizing our original maquettes, so the original plaster models that Christian Peterson created. And with that, we now have these little guys. And the nice thing about these is that you can actually handle them, unlike the plaster, which you're not supposed to touch with your bare hands. You can handle these guys, if they drop on the floor, they're not going to break. So these are really helpful as an educational tool because they give students a bit more of that tactile experience and also show off some of the new cool technologies that are happening around campus. So if you ever want to come and visit and you say, hey, I want to see the 3D models, we can pull them out for you. Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so We recently had some publications come out. If you haven't already checked it out, please visit our online publication, the Christian Peterson Catalog Raisonné. Alison Sheridan put a lot of time and effort into collecting all of that information and making it available online. So it is publicly available for anyone to look it up if you're curious. It just kind of outlines just kind of the life and career of Christian Peterson and his career, spanning from his career on the East Coast, how he came to Iowa State University, and then his career and so on. So definitely check that out. We also have the Explore Art on Campus at Iowa State, a Numbers Alive family book. We have that available here at the Christian Peterson Art Museum, as well as at the Sheeman Building. And we are finally coming out with the 50th Anniversary University Museums Handbook. So I don't know if any of you are familiar. This is the old handbook. And this was produced before the Christian Peterson Art Museum even opened. So at the time of this publication, it was just the Brunnier Art Museum, Farmhouse Museum, and Art on Campus. So with the new edition, we're going to highlight the new Anderson Sculpture Garden, as well as the Christian Peterson Art Collection. So very excited. Our business administrator has the new copy downstairs, but it will be available on Friday for purchase. So we're very excited about that. It took a long time to write all of that, so we really hope that you check it out. Go back to Caitlin.
All right. Okay, it's fine again. Since I noticed it, I saw in the chat there was a question about the 3D models of if they are going to be on sale anytime soon. There is not currently any plan to be selling these 3D models, but if they ever do go on sale, one of the ways that you can find out about that is by joining the mailing list. So this is just a weekly email. You get it at the start of the week, and it will basically just list out what are the upcoming events. If there are updates about ongoing conservation projects, you can get little insights and photographs from that. It'll have, the weekly events as well as any other updates, like if we get new staff, if there are, wrap-ups from other notable things, student spotlights, that kind of thing. All of that is going to be on the mailing list. So you can join the mailing list by going to our website, museums.iowastate.edu. Just go to the bottom, click join the mailing list. The only thing that is required is your email. You are not required to provide any other information. You can put your name on there if you want to. And you can also join the mailing list by scanning that QR code. So the website or scan the QR code. Either way should work out fine. Okay. And as for how to contact us, we have several different staff members all across the museum. Depending on what you are looking for, you might want to contact different people. Lynette is our director and chief curator, so she is the person who's, the big administrator in charge. Adrian is the curator of the Brunnier Art Museum. Alison Ranniger Van Zanti, the person talking with us, is the curator of the Christian Peterson Art Museum. Sydney Marshall is the curator of the Art on Campus collection and Anderson Sculpture Garden. And our other Alison Sheridan, is the curator of the Farmhouse Museum, and she's also our collections manager. So depending on what kind of question you might have, if you think of one later, you can email any of these people. All of this is also available on our website. It has pictures of us and it lists our emails. So, and if you're interested in scheduling a tour, you can contact me via the Christian Peterson Art Museum or via my email, or my counterpart over at the Brunnier Art Museum, Carly McCoy. You can just send us an email, say, hey, this is our group. This is what we're interested in. These are our times. Does this work for you? If you are requesting a private tour, outside of, any ISU affiliation, there is a $5 charge per person. But if you were asking for a tour for an ISU department or a class or a student organization, then there is no fee. I always have to say that up top because it can sometimes get confusing. But if you're interested in, feel free to at least send us an email.
Otherwise, we are always open. At the Christian Peterson Art Museum, we're open 10 to 4, Monday through Friday. All the museums are free of charge to visit. If you would like a private tour, we do offer those for a small fee. But otherwise, we really hope that you join us on Friday for our 50th anniversary celebration. It'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, we hope to see you there. I haven't had a chance to visit the chat, but does anyone have any questions for us so far?
I can answer one of them. So I saw somebody was asking about volunteer opportunities. And if you're interested in volunteering for the museum, I can tell you about our docent program. So our docents are some of the additional people who help with tours around campus. Specifically, a lot of the art walks are also done by docents in addition to me and to Sydney. So if you're interested in that, there is an application on our website. It'll go through, all of that. There are several steps to becoming a docent, and usually you go through some training just so you can become familiar with all of the different works of art across campus. But if you are interested, I would encourage you to apply or at least take a look at it. And being a docent can also mean that you can help out at events. Basically, it's just sort of a catch-all for additional person who can help us with various things. So if you're interested in volunteering, that would be what I would recommend.
Alison, there's another question in the chat. What was the value of the Brunnier collection when it was donated, and what would be the value now?
Well, we don't value, we didn't have appraisers come in, I guess, when the collection came. We obviously have insurance for the building, but I wouldn't be able to answer that. When I do know when Lynette was talking about when they were unpacking it, there was such a breadth of objects, such a diverse variety of objects. They didn't know what a lot of it was. They were able to get a grant to have museum experts come in and look at all of the objects, kind of tell them what they were, and give them kind of better information of what year they were, what materials they were made of. I mean, we have Russian enamels, we have different jade artifacts, the Tang horses. It really is an encyclopedic glass collection. We have something from ancient times in Egypt to contemporary glass. So, and it's growing all the time. We have a better idea of value of things that are being newly accessioned. But beyond that, when people are donating to the museum, the process is you get your own independent appraisal, and then you use that for your own tax purposes. So it's not an exciting answer, but that's what I can volunteer.
So if you have something that you want to donate, do you reach out to Alison Sheridan as the collections, can't remember what her title,
Collection manager,
or do you go to Lynette, or how does that work?
I mean, we're a small enough team. We're pretty good at communicating with each other. If there's someone that if you know Alison very well, feel free to reach out to her. Typically you can reach, like if it's a object by Christian Peterson, typically me, as CCing Alison and Lynette on those communications. It's just helpful to keep everyone in the loop. And then we just kind of determine, is it in good shape? Do we have multiples of it? Do we have space for it? And once we kind of make those kind of determinations, then it gets approved by a committee, and then we will accept it into the collection. For Christian Peterson, we have had like the two children sculptures. A lot of copies were made of those. We currently have like 5 sets of those, and so we are not taking any more of. But we do recommend looking at the Ames History Museum, as well as the State Historical Society of Iowa in Des Moines. Those are places that do have Christian Peterson works of art in them, and would. So I feel like we're pretty good if we're not able to accept it, of maybe giving a recommendation of where you could potentially gift those.
Cool. Another question in the chat. What happens with the storage of the original pieces that have been replicated?
Yes, we get that question a lot. So ideally, we'll find another home for them on campus. In the case of the Fountain of the Four Seasons, it was really when they were being taken out and the replicas had come in that we really noticed that there was significant loss on the originals. We do have plaster, a plaster cast that Peterson had made as models for the fountains, and those are in Curtis Hall. So those are on display as well. Having a third set of fountain maidens on campus, we don't know if that is, beneficial, especially due to the significant loss on the actual limestone. But they're currently in storage, and maybe at a later point, someone will have a brilliant idea of where they can find a permanent home. But yeah, in that case, it's just when they get to a certain point of breakdown, that's when we really have to make the curatorial decision. Is it worth having out anymore?
Any other questions from the group? Alison, Caitlin, thank you so much for sharing today. It was great to hear about what you do and the process. It really, really makes you appreciate what the original artists did to create those in the first place, when the technology we have today to be able to digitally recreate, or the 3D printing, or just the scanning that you're doing to get these images, it really just drives home, boy, what they did years and years ago without all that technology is just impressive. So thank you for sharing your website and information about where to volunteer and just the events. A lot of events you have coming up. That's fantastic. So thank you both. Appreciate that again.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having us, and definitely always feel free to reach out. We definitely want the Ames community to come and enjoy all of our spaces free. So yeah, but I just want to say thank you again, and we're so happy to have joined you today.
Fabulous. Yeah, so get out and enjoy the art on campus. And as an ISU graduate, I haven't been on campus for a while. It just inspires me to want to go back and take a look. So appreciate that.
Yeah. I'll also say, I'll also say that since I'm usually the person who is at the desk in Morrill Hall, so if you go into the museum, 9 times out of 10, I'll be the one sitting there. If you think of questions later or when you're visiting, you can just walk up and ask. That's why I'm there. So that's just an open invitation to anybody. If you're at an event or you're just stopping by and you're like, I've always wondered about this. Even if I cannot give you an immediate answer, I can at least point you to somebody who can give you an answer. So never be afraid to come up and talk to us. And thank you so much for all of your time.
Excellent, Caitlin. Thank you so much. And I will shout out Alison Sheridan is a client of ours. We've worked with her. She's a wonderful lady, just fantastic at what she does as well. So shout out to her. So thank you both again. Appreciate that. And everyone with their questions. With that, we'll close out today. And please join me in reciting our four-way test if you can stand. Of the things we think, say, and do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Have a great day. Appreciate you too again.